You would never walk into a store and hand someone $10,000 for absolutely nothing. You would pause. You would question it. You would probably walk away. Because when the number is big, the decision feels serious. But strangely, many people end up giving away that same amount of money. Not in a single moment. Not in one dramatic purchase. But slowly, a few dollars today, another small purchase tomorrow, something else next week. Each one feels harmless. Too small to worry about. And that is exactly why it becomes dangerous. Because the real danger of small expenses isn't the money itself. It's the comfort they create. And comfort, when repeated often enough, can quietly reshape your financial future. Imagine a large water tank filled to the top. Now imagine there is a tiny hole at the bottom. Not something dramatic. Not something you would notice immediately. Just a slow drip. Drop by drop. Minute by minute. At first, everything looks perfectly fine. The tank still appears full. But time does something powerful. Hours pass, days pass, and slowly, almost invisibly, the water disappears. By the time someone notices the problem, most of the water is already gone. Small spending works in exactly the same way. Financial problems rarely appear because of one giant mistake. Most of the time, they appear because of hundreds of small decisions that never felt important enough to question. A quick coffee. A food delivery because it's easier than cooking. A small purchase during a late-night scroll. None of these decisions feel serious, but repeated often enough, they quietly form a leak. And leaks don't destroy things overnight. They destroy them slowly. One of the reasons small expenses are so dangerous is because of the way the human brain works. Your brain treats big purchases and small purchases very differently. When something is expensive, your mind becomes cautious. You slow down. You compare options. You think about whether you really need it. But when the price is small, your brain relaxes. It whispers a simple sentence. It's just a few dollars. That sentence feels harmless. But it removes the friction that normally protects your money. Because the brain isn't calculating the long-term impact of that purchase. It only reacts to the immediate feeling of spending. Psychologists call this mental accounting. Instead of seeing money as one system, we divide it into small emotional categories. A small amount feels separate from the rest of our finances. So the brain treats it as insignificant. But money doesn't behave that way. Money compounds. It accumulates. And when the same small decision repeats over and over again, the impact quietly multiplies. There is another reason small spending becomes powerful. Many of these purchases come with a hidden emotional reward. They feel like tiny moments of relief. A small treat after a long day. A quick delivery that saves you effort. A small purchase that gives a brief burst of excitement. These moments feel harmless. They feel like small comforts in a busy life. But the brain begins to associate spending with emotional relief. And when that association forms, something subtle begins to happen. Occasional purchases slowly become routine behavior. At first, the purchase is a choice. Later, it becomes an expectation. Eventually, it becomes automatic. You don't ask yourself if you should buy it, you simply assume you will. The action stops feeling like spending. It just feels normal. And this is where the real danger begins. Because habits are powerful. Once something becomes automatic, it no longer requires conscious decision-making. The brain runs the pattern without asking permission. And when a spending habit becomes automatic, it can continue for years without being questioned. Now imagine someone spends just a few dollars every day on small comforts. Nothing extreme. Nothing that looks irresponsible. Just small purchases that feel normal. Over a single day, it barely registers. Over a week, it still seems small, but over a month, those purchases quietly become hundreds. Over a year, they become thousands. Over 10 years, they can become tens of thousands. And the story doesn't end there. Because money has something called opportunity cost. Every dollar spent today is a dollar that cannot grow tomorrow. If that same money had been saved or invested instead, its value could slowly multiply over time. This is the hidden cost of small expenses. Not the moment you spend the money, but the future you quietly give up. Every small purchase has two costs: the money leaving your pocket today and the opportunity that money could have created in the future. The difficult part is that the future is invisible. You cannot see the investment that never happened. You cannot see the wealth that never had the chance to grow. All you see is a small purchase that felt harmless in the moment. This is why small spending often escapes attention. It never feels dramatic enough to question. Most people believe wealth is determined by large financial decisions. Buying a house, starting a business, making big investments, and those decisions do matter. But the truth is that financial outcomes are often shaped by something much smaller. Daily patterns. Two people with the same income can end up with completely different financial futures. Not because of one big decision, but because of thousands of small ones. Most people ask a simple question before spending. Can I afford this right now? And in many cases, the answer is yes. A small purchase is rarely enough to cause immediate financial stress. But financially aware people ask a different question. They ask something much more powerful. Is this worth repeating every day? That question changes everything, because almost any purchase feels reasonable once. But very few purchases remain reasonable when repeated hundreds or thousands of times. When you view spending through that lens, many small expenses suddenly look very different. The goal is not to eliminate every small pleasure from life. Enjoyment is important. Comfort is part of being human. But the difference between healthy enjoyment and harmful habits is awareness. Instead of focusing only on the price of something, begin paying attention to how often it appears in your life. Once you begin noticing those patterns, something interesting happens. Many impulses lose their power, the automatic behavior starts to weaken, and slowly you regain control over decisions that once felt invisible. Small spending can quietly drain your financial future, but small discipline can quietly build it. A few dollars saved today may not feel important, but consistency transforms small actions into powerful outcomes. Money that stays invested begins working on its own. Time multiplies what patience protects. And slowly, the same small decisions that once created financial stress can begin creating financial freedom. Big financial mistakes are easy to notice. They arrive loudly, they demand attention. But the most dangerous financial habits are quiet. They hide inside routine. They disguise themselves as comfort. And they reshape the future one small decision at a time. Because money rarely disappears in one dramatic moment. It disappears slowly, through tiny choices that feel too small to question. So the real question is not whether small expenses matter. The real question is this: are your daily decisions building your future or quietly taking it away? If you want to keep exploring money from a calmer, more mindful place, you're welcome here on Art of Money.